This evening, you begin a journey into the world of the female police officer. This is a story which could not be told 12 years ago because there were no women on street patrol in the city of Philadelphia. It took the courts and the gutsy determination of 100 women to make a difference. I borrowed the title Lady Law from a 1976 documentary that reporter Jessica Savage broadcast on this station. I found some of those first women who wore the blue uniform of police officer, women who until 1976 were not permitted to enforce the law.
You are watching a Philadelphia police officer at work. You're watching a policeman on patrol because there have never been women patrol officers in the city of Philadelphia, nor women sergeants, nor women detectives either.
This was 1976, just more than a decade ago. Reporter Jessica Savage witnessed the gritty job of police patrol officer firsthand. It was a male-only preserve, until Officer Penelope Brace wanted to move out from behind a desk to become a detective.
And we were excluded from sector patrol, and we were excluded from promotion up the male progression promotional level, such as detective, detective sergeant, and on and on.
Neither Mayor Frank Rizzo nor Police Commissioner Joseph O'Neill wanted that to change. O'Neill even testified to that fact in a federal deposition. This is the way Savage reported it.
Question. Can you tell me why, in your opinion, women can't handle detective and patrol sector work? O'Neill. Because God, in his wisdom, made them different.
Officer Brace cried discrimination. Ultimately, the federal courts agreed. The streets were no longer going to be patrolled only by men. The first 100 women were to have equal assignments after equal training. Savage tested herself and passed. The equipment that represented such a physical challenge at the police academy looks more like an abandoned playground today. The bars are rusted and the weeds are tall. The obstacle course is no longer a training requirement for either men or women. But for the first 100, the women who had to prove themselves with their sweat, this stands as a monument to their determination. Today, Officer Marianne Colfer carries a gun and handcuffs under her jacket. She's single, 40 years old, and protects Wilson Good, the mayor of Philadelphia. Colfer was a member of that first class. She pledged to uphold the law and was determined to complete 600 hours of training.
The men, I thought that they wouldn't like us, they would never accept us. And I thought that was a challenge.
For classmate Margie Watson, it was even a challenge to wear the uniform.
The crouches on our pants came almost to our knees, you know. The shoes were so wide that you had to wear 4 or 5 pairs of socks just to keep the shoes on.
The physical training gave Maureen Royds bloodied hands 12 years ago. Today, Sergeant Royds is assigned to the homicide division. She investigates murders.
Just had to be more determined and really want this job because we had to prove to the department, to the federal courts, to ourselves that we could do it.
Where's it at, man?
Sergeant Maureen Rush is on the street with the city's elite narcotic strike force. Rush is one of the first 100. Dade County, Florida, 1976. The crime, drug possession. On the street in Florida, the force of law was carried in the badge. It didn't matter who wore it. This is the way Jessica Savage reported it.
What you're watching is a drug bust. Routine for this officer. Her name is Jane Kelly. For the last 10 years, women like Jane Kelly have been serving in all sections of the Dade County Public Safety Department.
12 years ago, drug busts may have been routine police work for female officers in Florida. But in Philadelphia, it was unheard of. The first 100 female cadets had just started training for patrol sector work. The mayor then was Frank Rizzo, a former police commissioner, a cop's cop. Unconvinced women could patrol the streets, control aggressors, and protect themselves.
Some of us seasoned guys were concerned, our primary objective was their safety. It's almost combat out there. So that was the reason for my thinking.
Where are the drugs? Where are they?
Today, battling drug abuse is like fighting a war. Today, women are on the front lines.
Put your hands on the car. You were observed making a narcotics transaction on videotape. Where are the drugs? Where are the drugs?
Maureen Rush trained to be a street cop with that first class of women in Philadelphia. Today, she's Sergeant Rush with the police department's elite narcotics strike force.
When you're on the job, you're a police officer first and a woman or a man second. When I was a rookie, one of the veteran cops told me, "Kid, this is the greatest show on earth and you got the front row seat."
On this October afternoon, the front seat was in Lower Kensington. I rode with Rush and her commander, Captain Mike Feeney, as they and the members of their drug-fighting unit laid out what they call a fishnet. A secret surveillance camera records an apparent drug deal. A description is radioed to waiting officers. When the car is spotted, the police move in for the arrest.
Where'd you throw it out of the car at?
Coming up the block.
Neighbors are lured to the corner by the police action. Rush searches the street. In the suspect's car, his 2-year-old daughter.
You got your dope first before you took the kid?
In fact, police found a vial under the suspect's foot. They say it contained crack. The fishnet caught 20 alleged drug buyers and 4 suspected drug dealers. Rush grabs one of them on a side street. He's a juvenile.
It angers you when the same kids that are being arrested are out the next day and back on the corner and sort of smugly looking you in the face.
12 years ago, when Rush and her classmates broke down the sex barriers, men like former Mayor Frank Rizzo weren't convinced the women could do the job. Today?
And I've watched them operate, and I would say that they converted me, that I would now support them on the street.
A late October night in West Philadelphia. For Officers Terry Jessberger and Pam Lovell, the assignment is routine. Patrol the streets of Philadelphia. A police assignment women weren't given until the federal courts ordered it 12 years ago. Until then, the streets were off limits to women. Today, it's different.
As the night progresses, usually after about 9 o'clock, people have a few drinks, they start to feel good.
And people take risks, snatching purses, burglarizing homes, stealing cars. It's all in a night's work.
Highway 38,
59th and Washington. Jessberger and Lovell catch sight of someone breaking into a car. The suspect flees, they give chase. Within 3 minutes, Jessberger has the suspect in handcuffs. It's a 13-year-old boy under arrest for attempting to steal a car. It's after 11 o'clock on a school night.
In you go, whippersnapper.
We usually answer like robberies, burglaries, shootings, murders, rapes in that kind of area with the idea of making arrests.
We are aggressive. We stop a lot of cars, we stop a lot of people.
The initial response is they don't realize you're women officers. They just know you are a cop in a uniform.
In capturing these scenes on videotape, we only used available light, so we would not put these officers at risk. In the silhouette of our light, they could be a target. Police officers, male or female, can be targets on any assignment.
We will fight if we have to. Nobody's gonna put their hands on us. We're protective of each other.
That's correct.
Jessberger and Lovell stopped this car because it had no license tag. The car has 3 passengers. Lovell keeps her gun almost hidden. It's not used to threaten the driver. It's drawn to protect her partner. Tonight, she didn't need it.
You don't go to work with the idea of not coming home.
At home, Officer Lovell is mom. The Lovells are a 2-cop family. For that matter, so are the Jessbergers. This is a rare dinner time. Everyone's home. Terry's husband, Paul, a sergeant in Roxborough's 5th District, readily admits his mixed emotions when his wife decided to sign up.
I wasn't convinced that as a female officer she was going to be able to handle the street. Yeah, there was a lot of apprehension in the department.
Harry Lovell witnessed the same concern at first, but he believes Pam and Terry's performance has opened the door for acceptance.
They're both excellent police officers. They're well qualified and very professional at all times. Nobody gave it to them. They earned their way there.
But Jessberger and Lovell had to get their chance. They owe their jobs today to the first 100 women who trained for street patrol 12 years ago.
The anti-Israel bias continues.
October 1988, outside the Philadelphia Inquirer, the protest is in defense of Jews. Officer Margie Watson surveys the civil disturbance. Every inch the lady in black heels and red nail polish. It's an unlikely uniform. Nonetheless, she's the law. 12 years ago, Jessica Savage found Watson in a classroom at a desk, among the first 100 women to train for patrol sector work and move to the streets.
The community has already begun to see women patrol officers. From what we have observed, the women are gaining a cautious acceptance.
At our invitation, some of the first female cadets did some observing of their own. They watched the Savage documentary together. Officer Lee Gibson saw herself and remembered the difficult winter of '77.
I was walking a beat of just abandoned buildings, and I just remember it was so cold. It was so many nights of those, where actually I caught myself crying and those tears just froze on my cheeks. It was so cold.
The federal courts gave these women the right to be equal, but some female officers say the more subtle battle of being treated equally is yet to be won. Carol Keenan was in the first class 12 years ago. She had worked her way up to detective in homicide. The unit got a new commander. Within a year, Keenan was transferred out.
He never said, Carol can't do this, or Carol or Detective Keenan can't do this. It's no job for a woman.
Keenan has taken her allegations against the city and the police department to federal court. The charge is sex discrimination, even though other female officers now work in homicide.
Do I want to go back? Yes, I want to go back. I was put out of there under a cloud.
Police Commissioner Willie Williams told me he'll be reviewing the Keenan case, one he inherited from the previous administration. Williams was a lieutenant in 1976. He says female officers have come a long way.
It's easily and clearly recognizable that they can perform and function in any area of the police department.
On a hillside overlooking the city, Sergeant Maureen Rush plays with her pal Chrissy. Rush has a quiet confidence, knowing she's a good cop. Rush also knows that she may be called on to lay down her life one day.
When you read a news story about an officer being killed in any part of the country, you can almost relate the situation that they were killed into something you've already done. So yeah, it hits home, but it doesn't matter if it's male or female.
Yes, it's common sense.
At home, Officer Pam Lavelle is policing the studies of her teenagers. Sometimes Tamika worries because Pam's a cop.
Sometimes, it's a little rough because you think one night they're not going to come home.
On a yearly average, 4 female officers don't come home. They're killed in the line of duty. As more women join the ranks, that number is expected to rise. All of these women, including Terry Jessberger, have earned commendations for their police work. To Terry, more important than the certificates is the commendation of her daughter, Michelle.
My mom's a cop, and I'm just proud of what she does.
Well, we thought you'd be interested in these statistics. Out of the first class of 100, 71 are still on the force. 2 of them are lieutenants, 7 are sergeants, 1 is a corporal. 14 of them have pursued detective work. The rest are assigned to district street patrol. Others are in special units. I'd like to take this opportunity to give special recognition to the women of the Philadelphia Police Department who are Lady Law. You have our gratitude and respect.